Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. All right, let's do this. Hey guys, my name is Bruce. Welcome to ConvoCourses. I've been doing cybersecurity for over 20 years now. My main focus has been security compliance with a concentration in the NIST 800 series. So that being said, I'm very familiar with doing risk assessments. That's what I currently do now for the private sector. But most of my career has been with the public sector. That means the state, federal governments, things like that, as like a public servant doing contracting work. Now that said, what I've noticed is that there's not a lot of material out there for learning this particular craft. Everything I've learned, I've had to been self-taught. I've never gone to a course where it taught me about this kind of stuff. So I thought it would be really helpful to actually start teaching it. So many years ago, I started putting out a blog post where I would just teach about what it is that I do and what kinds of things that you can do to get into this field and really what to do once you get in the field. So that's been my main focus, and it's evolved into what you see today, which is a site where I tell people for free how to do this kind of stuff. Now, what I want to introduce you to is my website. It's called ConvoCourses.com, where I talk about all things related to cybersecurity, but my main focus is on security compliance. If you're interested in this, feel free to sign up for ConvoCourses.com. Go to the site, sign up for free, and get a lot of the free lessons. What I started doing here is doing putting some of the live sessions that I do here and all over the internet. I'm going to start putting them all into this course right here that you see on the screen. Let me show you that. Let me show you that. Right here. Here it is right here. And I'm going to start posting this stuff on this particular page, ConvoCourses, because I've got some downloadables. Every now and then people will ask me, hey, how can I get downloadables? Like I love the slide deck that you just did. Please allow me to download this. So I'm going to start doing that here on ConvoCourses.com. You get that if you actually log onto the site for free, and you also get access to some of the free stuff that I put out there from time to time. You'll see a price on here, but a lot of times if you sign up, you can actually access the free materials on this site. It's videos, it's downloadables, it's things like that. So go ahead and sign up for it at your leisure. I also do these lives once a week on Saturdays at 1 p.m. East Mountain Standard Time, and I've got some people already watching me. Hey, Jay Barnes, how you doing, sir? And I'm just going to jump right into this. We're going to be talking about what I like to call ethical privacy hacking. And it's where you hack yourself. It's where you figure out what information that I have, what do I have out there that's exposing myself? Because this is just a real big problem in modern society, not just in the U.S., but all over, where we're transitioning from an industrial age where information was, you just posted information all over the place, right? You put it everywhere. It's no big deal. You put it in the phone book. You could put it in the public deed of trust down the street at your local assessor's office. It was no big deal, right? But we're in the information age now. All information is valuable, and it's being used and weaponized against us. And I'm going to show you that here in a second here. I just want you guys to follow with me. You tell me what you think. So this is lesson 1 of this. I'm going to have multiple lessons where I'm going to show you other things that are involving privacy. Let's just jump into this. So assignment number 1 for yourself. You can follow along with me on your phone. if you like. What I want you to do is Google yourself. Now, if you haven't already done this, you're gonna be pleasantly surprised. Google your full name, or you can do first name, middle initial, last name, or first name, middle, full name, and then last name. Google yourself, space, your city, state. Put your city and your state. So if it was me, I'd put Bruce Brown, space, Colorado Springs, Colorado, right? That whole thing. Google all of that. See what you come up with. Let me show you guys what I came up with my real name. I've blanked this stuff out for my own protection. But one of the first sites that came up was this Cyber Background Checks. It's a site that automatically pulls all this information from the internet and posts it all in one form, right? So what it came up with was, of course, my full name, my full name, the city that I'm in. It also came up with the last 2 phone numbers that I had, my location, my actual addresses at 2 different addresses. My spouse, my ex-spouse, it had that in there as well, which I was surprised. Like, why is it still associating me with my ex-spouses? Because my ex-spouse lived in that house. Both of my ex-spouses, by the way, it has information on both my ex-spouses with me, associated with me. It had my mother's name. It had in investment homes that I have. It had just a plethora of information. Go hack yourself. Tell me what you find in the comments below. Hack yourself. Put your first name. This is your first lesson if you're following along. Put your first name, your middle name, your last name, and then the state that you're in, the city that you're in, is for best results. All right. So yeah, that's the information that I got. Of course, it's got my age in there, and stuff like that. Now, another thing that it found was my businesses. I had a business long ago, and had that business from like I don't know, it was like 10 years ago that I had this business, a local business at an actual location here locally. And it had the business entity. It had the partners that I had with me. It had where the location was, the mailing address, the phone number. It pulled all this information from the local business site that we have here in Colorado. So I had all that information in there. Do it yourself, like Google yourself and see what you find. The next thing I want you to do, lesson 2, assignment number 2, is learn a little bit more about your parents. What I want you to do is go to Google or Bing or Yahoo or whatever, Google for best results, and type in your parents' full name or your guardian's full name, first name, middle initial, or full middle name, last name, and then put the actual state or city for best results that they live in. Right? What you're going to find is a lot of information. You're going to find out stuff about your parents you probably didn't know. Like what I found out about I did this to my own parents, right? And what I found was I found a public court case against my parents, and I found their local Facebook page, and then of course they were in the yellow pages, right? All this information that I found out about them, that it pulled all this information because it's publicly available. If you've ever had a court case against you, it's going to be there. It's publicly available. If you have a Facebook page, of course, especially if you made it public, it's going to be out there. It's going to have your full name out there, all the stuff you put on there, your birthday, your pictures. It's going to have what you look like, your kids, your dog, your cat, all the stuff that you put out there. It's going to come up on Facebook if it's if you made it publicly available. Then you've got the yellow pages. Yellow pages is all the stuff that when you move into a house, they pull all that information in there so that people can contact you, right? Why wouldn't you want people to contact you? So this one right here came up with this is very personal information, but about my parent. The court case, the actual court case is listed here. It's got information of the person that filed the case against the plaintiff, and it had the county that they're in. It had the Supreme Court justice who was against them. It had the full name, of course, of my parent, and when this case was filed, all this kind of stuff in the actual courthouse information. I could keep digging and digging on this information, and any updates to the case, I could actually get that as well. So that's all the information that I found on there. What did you find about your parents? What are you guys looking at? And somebody in here says a very good point, Navi. Navi says, hey, Bruce, I like to go to Google Alerts and put my name in there so it notifies me when people post new information. That is brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah, you put your full name in Google. I'll show you that, how you can do that. But you'll put your full name in Google Alerts, and then you can then, anytime somebody types your name, or if an organization puts your name out there or whatever, or if it shows up on social media, boom, you get an alert on what's going on, and you can quickly go see what's going on with that information. Okay, let's keep going here. One of the greatest tools that you can use to find out more information on what's out there on yourself, what publicly available information is out there, what's on what phone numbers are still out there, is called people search aggregators. And essentially these are programs or websites that they gather all the publicly available information associated with your name and your state and pull it all in one spot. They're very effective tools. One of my favorites is Spokeo.com, but there's tons and tons of other ones out there. And these sites are extremely effective. And it's just publicly available information. It's not illegal for these people to come up with these things, because you can literally Google this stuff anytime you want. Another place that you can find tons of valuable information on yourself or on anyone is deeds.com. So deeds.com is just one site. Basically, this is one place that you can go to grab deeds from county clerks all over the United States, and from all 50 states, by the way. Now, if you really want to know more information, you can go to your local website, your county assessor's office, and you can find out more information. You probably want to go there and put your full name in there, or put your location in there. This is how Zillow gets all this information. All these real estate agents, that's how they get your information. It's publicly available at the county clerk's office. So they know that you live at 1188 Park Mesa, in Denver, Colorado or whatever, right? They know exactly where you live, and they know when you bought the house. They know how much it costs when you bought it. They know what's the current market price. So they know how much equity you have in the home right now. They know if you have somebody living in the house. If they keep digging, they can even find that out. So there's just so much publicly available information on yourself when you're online. That's just the nature of the direction our society is going right now. Another thing, you're going to find at your local county's offices, you're going to find records on divorce, marriage certificates. You're going to find court records if you've ever gone to a case like you saw with my parent. You saw that there was an actual court case with the number and the plaintiff and the actual status of it and all that. Deeds, of course, property ownership, any kind of ownership you have, birth certificates, police records, your voting, how you vote, your party affiliation. You can find all this out just by Googling somebody's name and the state that they're in. All this information is publicly available. And it's just a little bit scary when you think about it. It's a little bit scary. Because the reason why it's scary is because a person can do reconnaissance on you. All they need is your name, your real name, and your state and your city, right? And they'll be able to find you. Unless you have a very, very common name. But if you nail it down to your actual first, middle, and last name associated with your city, they can pinpoint you. They'll get it down to maybe 5 different people that is going to be you. But they can find out, if they didn't know your location, they can find that out, your exact location, places that you've already lived before. They can find out aliases. If you have, if your real name is this, but you change your name to that, they can find that out. They can get your contact information, your email, your phone number, if that's on the internet, your SMS. They can find out what assets you own. They can find out any relationships you have, your ex-wives, your mother, your sister, your brother, your kids. They can see your kid's name in there. Social media, of course, this is all the stuff that you post. You actually give people information about yourself and post it out there. And then they can link all that information together, because that's in recon when you're talking about certified ethical hacking. ethical hacking, that's what you do. You gather all of these points of information so that you can do what's called footprinting on an organization. Like in an organization, what you'll do is there's lots of publicly available information out there, right? Some of it has to be publicly available, like your IPs. If you have IPs that you want your clients or people you're selling to, you have to have an IP out there because that's associated with your website, and they have to have your website, of course, is publicly available. So you put that out there, and so as a hacker, what you'll do is you'll go out there and figure out, okay, well, what's their IP range? Because corporations usually have a range of IP addresses, right? They don't have just one or two. They'll have a range of IP, especially if it's a large organization, a range of IPs. So you're going to do footprinting and reconnaissance to figure out what's the range of the IPs, what are the, if any, what are the DNS names or the website addresses associated with all of those IPs? Because you might find hidden IP, hidden websites and hidden IPs that they don't necessarily want you to see. But first you got to see grab all the publicly available information. Then you want to know what are the locations? What are their sites? How many sites do they have? Do they have sites that are easier to hack than others, right? But you got to get all that publicly available information first to see which sites are soft targets. Who has the most information out there? And another thing you might want to do is figure out who's the employees, who lives at those locations. What are their names? Do they have phone numbers? Do they have emails? What's the email address look like? You know, now I have a list of all the IPs. I have a list of all of their URLs, all the websites, some of the websites that were hidden, right? Because you can find those too. All the people at those locations at each site. What can you do with that information? Ask yourself that. What can I do? What can I do with that information? Well, if I'm a marketer, I could go market to them. If I'm an adversary, competitor, I can use that information to figure out how can I be more competitive to my competition. I'm also selling widgets. I want to know how they're doing this, and I want to get an edge on them by figuring out as much information as I can, so I can figure out how I can one up my competition. What are they selling? What are they buying the products for? And then what's their markup? How much profit are they making? Maybe I can go a little lower than them, right? You know, it might be I just want to cold call them and try to sell washing machines to them because I know that this corporation has washing machines that they need to buy. Like, there's many different reasons why. I could also do social, I can start trying to hack them. You know, I can try get as much information as I can. I know who the CIO is. I know what their emails addresses are. I can make a fake email and send it to one of their employees in hopes that this person's going to click on a link that I sent them, right? I can do a phishing attack on them, spear phishing or something, because I know who that CIO is. I could email the CIO directly. If I find out who the administrators are, I can even figure. You get the idea. So I can do whatever I want because it's publicly available information. I'm grabbing as much as I can, and I can use it how I want. Now, what do they do with us? Now, what do they do? What can be done with your information? Just the stuff I just said. You can run scams. You can do constant advertisements. You can do cold calls. You can have political influence. How many times during political seasons where election times, how many times has a party called you? They know your name. They know what your party affiliation. They know the last time you voted. Like, oh, that's publicly available information. This person is calling you and saying, hey, can I get your vote for so-and-so, Senator, Congress, so-and-so, and this is such a time, you know. They know too much information, right? My point is they can do whatever the hell they want. My main concern is data farms, because if they have all this information, if these organizations can grab all this information and you have these aggregators and stuff, what's to stop them from taking that same information and selling it to other people, selling it on the dark web or stuff like that? What can we really do about this? You know, you got all these scams. I don't know if you guys have heard this one before. Let me see if you have heard
this call is officially a final notice from IRS, Internal Revenue Service. The reason of this call is to inform you
So
that
there's this scam going around from the Internal Revenues. It's tax season, right? So you get this scam call about the IRS, and they know information about you. They literally know your phone number. Sometimes they'll know your first name, last name, middle initial. They know what state you're in, and they say, hey, you need to call us because you're supposed to pay us this or that, or we're going to pay you X amount of dollars, but we need your account information first, right? And the other one is the insurance companies. Super aggressive, the fake insurance on extended car warranties. That's another big one. And you got to ask yourself, how do they know your information? How do they know where you live? How do they know your phone number? How do they know your name? All this stuff. Like, how do they know it's publicly available information that they can get? So not just scams is an issue, but intrusive ads. Real estate, if you own any kind of property, you've obviously been contacted from real estate, car insurance, credit card. These are legitimate companies, but why do they know so much about us? How in the world do they know so much about you? Like, do you ever ask yourself that question? How in the world do these people know so much about, or am I the only one because I'm paranoid? Right? These are things I think about. What can be done about these aggressive ads and people contacting you, cold calling you, and scams? You can be asked to be taken off of mailing lists. You can ask to opt out of mortgage and banks partners if they have a partnership program. Normally they'll have a little paper saying, hey, would you like for us to send you more information if we find some kind of product or service? We'd like to send you to our partners so that we can send you more offers, right? And you should, if you don't want to get these contacts, if you don't want random solicitations on buying mortgage or refinancing your house, then say no. You don't want that. Please do not contact me. If you have a business, you can set up what's called a virtual mailbox. And that virtual mailbox is where all your mail is sent. Junk mail, everything's sent to that address, so you don't advertise your personal address where you currently live. That'll do a little bit to mitigate some of your privacy, but it's not, none of this is going to fix all the problems because they're fundamentally part of the infrastructure that's been made during the industrial age, where information wasn't as important as it is now. You can also freeze your credit. A friend of mine does this all the time. What they'll do is when they're not in the process of buying a car or something, what they'll do is they will freeze their credit so that they're not getting a new credit card. They're not getting a loan. They'll freeze their credit, and that stops credit card companies from doing an inquiry, which makes your credit score go down, by the way. Hard and soft inquiries. Some of them will make your credit score go down. So they'll freeze it so that nobody can do anything. They can't inquiry it. They can't do anything with your credit. And then that means that they're not going to send you more cards because, in theory, they're not going to send you more offers because they don't know what your credit is. It's frozen. They can't do any inquiries or anything like that. And somebody in the chat is saying opt out usually doesn't work. Perhaps better to say it never worked for me. I mean, it works for me every now and then, but you have a great point. The point I'm trying to come up with, right, and what I'm trying to say right now is that because of the nature of our society, where it's coming from an industrial age, this is my theory about it. We're coming from an industrial age where information wasn't as important and it's kind of freely, just people put this stuff out there publicly for everybody so that we can make deals faster or know where somebody's living, kind of have transparency on us, right? Rather than transparency on the system itself, transparency on all of us. So if you own property, your information's out there. We're coming from that industrial age to an information age where information is king. Information can get you paid. Information, somebody can gather all this information on you and sell that to someone else. They could literally go on these aggregators, pull all your real information, and then sell it on a list. This is what they're doing on the dark web. Sell that on a list saying, hey, I've got this list of legitimate people with phone numbers, their email address, their full names, credit cards that they have. I'm going to sell this huge list of 5,000 people to you for X amount of dollars, right? Information is king. Information is money now. We're coming off of an age where none of that stuff, they didn't think about things like that because they didn't have to, right? So now that's where we're at. What can you do right now? What can you do right now? There's a couple things that you can do. Do not put your personally identifiable information on social media. You can check your accounts to see if you've been hacked. Like, check to see if actually your stuff's already been compromised. And you should Google yourself, just like in the very first lesson. Google yourself and look for any kind of harmful information that's out there. Let's start with the first one. PII, personally identifiable information. What is personal identifiable information? What is it? It's your first name linked with your date of birth, linked with your social security number, linked with your location, your city, the county that you're in. Any information, phone numbers, any information that can link directly to you. It's like a digital profile of you. Like, who are you? Where do you live? How do I contact you? How did you vote? What party affiliation do you have? What teams do you like? What football, baseball team? What's your favorite color? What's your mother's maiden name? Right? You get what I'm saying, right? Like, all these are information. That's personally identifiable information that somebody can use to know more about you, to access things like your bank accounts or your Google account or your LastPass or your whatever you have out there, right? They can use this information to help them to hone in on who you are and where you're at. What can you do? Use pseudonyms, okay? Use pseudonyms. That means a fake name. Do not use your first name, your middle name, your last name on the internet. Do not use it. Use a pseudonym, especially when it comes to personal stuff, right? If you have a business and you have to associate your real name with that business, that's part of the risk that comes with having a business, right? There's certain things you can't do to get around it. You can't put a fake name on the deed to your house. You can't put a fake name on the business when you register at the state. I mean, there's certain times that you have to use your real name. Your taxes, you have to put your real name on that. But you don't have to do it all the time. And one of the times you don't have to do that is on social media. Do not put your real name on social media. If you have it right now, change it. Put a different last name, like anything. Just change it to where you're not using your real name. Do not put the city that you live in. The reason why I say that is because your real name and the city you live in all they need is to gather more and more information and do footprinting and know more and more about you, right? They already have enough information on you. Anybody if you have credit cards, if you have assets, if you have properties, if you have bought a car, if you have a bank account, if you've been in the military, they already have enough information about you. When it comes to your personal life, when you're on social media, on, God forbid, Facebook, do not put your date of birth. Don't put a fake one. Put your kid's date of birth associated with a fake name so you can remember, okay, I put my kid's birthday here or my wife's birthday associated with a fake name that you made up, right? And of course, I don't have to tell you this. Do not put your social security number anywhere on the internet. Anywhere on the internet. Don't put your phone number either. These are things that people can use to gather more and more and more information. Another thing you can do is use a throwaway email. Don't use the same email. Don't use your main email to get into all your accounts. You can use a throwaway email, especially if you're going on dating sites or if you're going on Facebook or social media. Use some kind of throwaway email that if it got hacked, you don't care. Like, you're like, okay, well, it's hacked, but it's all right. It's not my main email. Because the thing is, email is associated with multi-factor authentication. It's associated with if you have a Google Drive, if you have I don't know, name your storage, your email, your cloud storage account. It's associated with your iPhone. It's associated with your phone number, right? Use a throwaway email for things that are not important, right? Just use a throwaway email on social media in particular. Another thing you can do, this is assignment 3. Check and see if you've been hacked. Check and see if have you been hacked. There's a site called haveibeenpawned.com. Here's the link right here. Check out this account right here. Somebody's calling me. Check out this account. Go to this email, this website right here, and type in your email address. And I'll show you that right here. Let's see if I can go to this site right here. go here. Here it is right here. It's a great site. So I'm going to type in, let's say I had my email address was johnsmith166 at gmail.com, right? Good news, no pawnage found. I wasn't hacked, okay? It's not associated with any accounts. And that's great. Okay, let's say my name was John Smith 1. Is this associated with any accounts? Oh no, you've been pawned. What does that mean? Okay, let me walk you through it. Okay. What happens is when a person, think about yourself. Whenever you make an account at LinkedIn, at Adobe, at 500px, Stacks, Animal Jams, wherever you make your account, you're going to use your primary email account or one of your email accounts, your work email, whatever, right? What's happening right now is these gigantic data breaches where you might be really good about taking care of your email. You might be really good. You might have a great password, different passwords on every account. You might have, multi-factor authentication on your email account, but that's not really what's being hacked. What's being hacked is when you use that email on, let's find one. On Animal Jam. Here's a good one. You use your email on Animal Jam to access this account. You use the email and you have a password on there on Animal Jam, right? Animal Jam itself gets hacked. Animal Jam has a security breach, and all of the usernames and passwords and emails and all the personal identifiable information you put on there is now in the hands of whoever the hell knows, right? China. It's in the hands of Joe Bob down the street. It's in the hands of, it's on the dark web being sold for pennies on the dollar. It's out there. It's out there. You're done. Well, this happens all the time. Look at all these accounts. This happens all the time. And what people normally do is that they'll use their one email address with one password because they don't want to remember all these passwords, right? So let's use all these. Look at all these accounts. Look at all this. Look at it. It just goes on and on and on. Gaming, email, LinkedIn, right? All of these have been hacked at one point. Breaches where all this information, all of your information is on the internet. So here's what's crazy. Let's say Animal Jam gets hacked and you use the same password, username and password for this as you did for your Bitcoin account and Gmail, right? And that says, let's look at this. In September 2014, a large dump of 5 million usernames and passwords was posted to the Russian Bitcoin forum. Whilst the commonly reported 5 million passwords, the dump also contained 123,000 yandex.ru addresses, right? Now, let's say you use the same email as you did and password that you use for, here's a big one. Let me find a big one here. Oh, Dub Smash got hacked. Oh my God. Let's see. You use the same one for LinkedIn. So now they can access your LinkedIn account, but this one got hacked too. So, okay. They can use, they know that on the Animal Jams and LinkedIn has the same username password. There's a very good chance that you're using the same password on your MySpace. Oh my Lord. On your, let's see, Google account. Your Google account has access to, hell, that has access to a lot more information, right? So just kind of giving you some idea of what you should do. You're not supposed to use the same password. Of course, you have to use password complexity. You need to use multi-factor authentication wherever you can. And then you don't want to use the same password on any one account. And this is why, because if one gets breached, if Appen gets breached and you're using the same password as you do on here as you do on Big Basket, they can use the username password to get on Big Basket and get more information on your Indian grocery platform, for example. Or access your email if they know that you're playing this game Town Salem use same username, password. They can try to go into your Gmail account if you use the same username, password there, right? And if you don't have multi-factor authentication, guess what? They're in. And then they can pretend to be you, and then they can change the username, password. They can change the username and password to get into to use that account to parade around as you. So all I wanted to do is kind of a public safety announcement to tell people, hey, go hack yourself. Go check out what information is publicly available out there. Do your own research. Don't believe me. Do your own research. Take on these assignments. See if you've been pawned. And the thing is, once you've done this, once you know you've been pawned, let's go back to this. Here's what you can do. It kind of tells you what you can do. Protect yourself. 1Password to generate, have a strong password for each site. Only 1Password for site. Do not use the same password for all these different sites, right? If you do, go through and change all of them. Another one that you can do is use multi-factor authentication. What that means is like you have a username, you have a password, but also it sends a code to your authenticator, Google Authenticator, for example, or it sends a code to email. I know that's been hacked as well. I know that there's a way to hack it, but the thing is, it's better than nothing. Okay, so it's better than nothing. Another thing is subscribe to notifications of any other breaches. Like, pay attention to whenever these guys are breached. Like, if you know you're signed up to 500 pixels and they sent out a notification saying, hey, by the way, we lost 5,000 email accounts and your is possibly on there. We're sorry about that. Change your password, listen to the notification, change the password, or just get rid of it. If you're not using that account no more, delete yourself out of there. Get out of there. Have them delete your information. A lot of times they don't delete your information, but if you can at least suspend the account and not use it no more, kill the account, then that's better than nothing, right? So that's all I want to say about that, guys. It's a public safety announcement. I'm not going to make any money off of this. It's really important. It's just something I've been really concerned about as I see my own information leaked all over the internet. Another thing I didn't tell you, if you happen to be a veteran, there's been several breaches of our information. Or I'm talking, they have our social security number, they have your real name, your date of birth, they have everything, and that's because OMB has been hacked, VA has been hacked several times. These federal organizations who have all of your information have been hacked. And if your information is in there, if you've ever worked for the federal government at all, like I'm not even talking about military, if you've ever worked for them at all, your information has been hacked. So if you go to omp.gov/cybersecurity, you'll see a way to get a free check to see if your information is being used for threat, for identity theft or anything like that. And then they also offer like a free service where you can check on a regular. They'll check it for you on a regular basis. They'll have your social security number in there, and they're constantly checking the dark web to see if you. And that's a .gov. So your information is already with them. You can use their service. They do it for free to check your stuff on a regular basis. You just got to go there and register with it, and then they'll actually check your I think they check your email address of your choosing. They check your and some banks do this too, your social security number to see if your information is being sold on the dark web, and then they'll check your phone number, things like that. So I think they give you like 3 points of information, and they check that stuff constantly. And Navi brought up a great point. You can make a Google alert that will check your name. Let me see if I can set one of those up real quick. Let me see if I can figure that out real quick. So I do this with work. When I'm looking for jobs, I'll create a job alert. Let me see if I was looking for J. Smith, Joseph. Smith. Let me see here. Do you go to more or do you go to tools? There's a super easy way to do this. You do the search, And then what do you do after that? There's a way to do this. I'm trying to figure this out live. Oh yeah, that's right. You go to alerts. That's right. I haven't set up an alert in a while. Google Alerts. You go to Google Alerts. And then Google Alerts will allow you to create a alert on a name. So whenever, yeah, here it is right here. Let me show you what I did. So whenever somebody types in John Joseph Smith, and you can actually put California. If this combination of words come up, right, you can have an alert set up and that it comes out every week or something like that. So this is it's not a good search, but you probably want to do something like this and have different iterations of your name, and then it'll automatically create an alert, right? I mean, it'll send an alert to this email of your choosing and then you can choose the sources, news, web, like automatic, just everywhere, right? Anyway, anytime somebody says anything in a certain region, you can actually have it send you an alert. So that's a great, thanks Navi for that. That's great information. That's a great idea. I've never done that one for myself before. Okay. Let's get into the questions here. I got some questions here. Thank you guys for joining me. I got about 6 people watching me. Somebody said, hey, Bruce, quick question. What should a CS/SCI cleared ISO expect to make in Washington, D.C. area? Just curious about salary. So let me just point you to some tools that I would use to find that out, to do some research on my own. There's a couple of different sites. One I think is called salary.com is one. Another one's called Glassdoor. Okay, that's a good one. And then you can also just Google it. I mean, you could probably just, what's an ISO? ISO salary DC. So, yeah, Washington, D.C. So, yeah, check this out. So first I went to salary.com. And what's really cool about this is sometimes it'll have people who actually worked at these places that'll tell you. So salary.com has a way to actually research how much these people make. So I'm going to go salary research, and I'm going to type in ISO. ISO. Oh, I'm not done yet. You'll see. ISO, and I'm not seeing anything for ISO. So let's type in cyber security. Let's just get a general idea of what a cybersecurity person makes. And just so you know, another big factor isn't just the role of an ISO or the clearance, but it's also the years that you have in there. So this has different titles here. Let's say it was a incident response. It's probably not a good incident response. Okay, this is kind of limited on the names that they're having us put in there. Let's do some research on this one anyway. And so this will have different positions. Let's just click one of these and see what's going on. Alternate job titles. So look at the breakdown of this. This is beautiful. Look at that breakdown. And you can change the city. So yeah, salary.com is a good one. I'm trying to look for an ISO. I didn't have it before. But okay, here we go. There are currently no jobs for ISO. Okay, maybe if we type information system security. Okay, here's an information system security manager. Here's a manager. Here's a technician. Here's an systems administrator. Let's go with technician. Information system technician. That's really not security though, so that's not. But anyway, it gives us median income, and then where you're at. And then you can change the city here. So we probably have to look for a role name. I think that they don't have ISO in here because it's kind of a specialized name, but they're kind of doing the same thing. Probably compliance. Let's type in security compliance. Yeah, here we go. Security compliance analyst. That's probably the closest one. And here's another one. Information security compliance analyst. Oh, that's a good one right there. Let's click that one. Get an idea of where. So 99,000. That's pretty good, right? But we want to know what city. Let's change the city. This is all of the United States. But Washington, D.C. is a special beast. I mean, people make a little bit more money there, right? So let's put in compliance. No, we just said Washington, D.C. Okay, here we go. And where in Washington? Oh, there we go. See, look at that. So as you can see, it gives us some idea of what the median income from a person who is a compliance. Now, I couldn't find ISO, so I just found a comparable job title because you're doing security compliance. So there you go right there, 11,000 on the median side. On the low side, 72,000, and 10% of the people are making that amount. And on the high side, people are making upwards of $160,000. 90% of the median. Okay, I guess that's what that means. But anyway, then you can also adjust the factors like the location, the years of experience, the education, all that kind of stuff. And then somebody is saying in the this is the best information you get is from people right here on this live. So Kalisa Hawthorne says my husband is an ISSPO in DC and makes $140,000. That's right. Like right there is word of mouth. That's going to give you a correlation right there. Right. So right here, salary.com is telling us that a security compliance person is making about $138,000 on the high end. Right. And $111,000 on the median. And then Kalissa says, I do control analysis in DC and I make $90,000. So you can see that range is in this range right here, right? So that's pretty much that's around what you're talking. This is the numbers, right? 100,000, give or take 10, right? So that's what. But let's look at some other tools. We're not done yet. Glassdoor is a really good one. This is one of my favorites. You go to glassdoor.com, and you can do this with any career path, by the way. Any career path. This one's really good for salaries. It's been my favorite one. A lot of times when I Google this stuff, Glassdoor comes right up. And so Glass is asking me to sign in for some reason. I do not want to sign in. But anyway, check out Glassdoor. I'm sorry I can't give you like a breakdown of it without sign. I really don't feel like signing in right now. But Glassdoor is a really good site. And then lastly, Google it. So here's what I did. Let me give you a better look into this. Okay, look at this. ISO salary DC. That's all I typed in Google. Google's amazing. It's freaking amazing. And here's what it came up with. ZipRecruiter, $79K to $150,000 DC. Glassdoor. There he goes right there. $140,000 to $150,000 ISO. But the only thing is, it's not telling us how many years this person worked. It's not telling us like the exact location. It's not telling us if they have a CISSP, like certifications. We don't know if they have a degree. Like there's a lot of other factors that would count that would go in there. Okay, here we go. Glassdoor. Hopefully it doesn't make me log in. I don't feel like logging in. Okay, here we go. There's a high confidence that you're going to make about $117,000. The average compensation, cash compensation is $4,000, like bonuses and stocks and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. Cash bonuses. And what I really like about it is sometimes they'll have people who actually work at these organizations, and they'll pop in and give their 2 cents on what you make, what they actually made when they were there, and what their qualifications were. But look at this. Look at this complete breakdown on Glassdoor. Glassdoor has been my favorite go-to for figuring out how much I'm going to make at these places. So that's a good one to look into. Let me see. I hope that answers your question. So Google, right? So what did I Google? Exactly did I Google? Glassdoor is a good one, but Google went right to it. So just what did I type in? I typed in ISO salary DC. Now, this could have easily been security compliance officer. It could have been cybersecurity analyst. It could have been, any number of different roles, and then a different location. It could have been remote. I could have put remote here, and it would have found that too. Okay, let me hold on a second, guys. I think I might have an appointment here real soon. Unfortunately, I was trying to do a longer session today, but life happens. Let me see. I'm supposed to get the booster shot today, and I don't know what time that is. 2:30. Okay, I'm good. All right. Okay, let's keep going here. Any other questions? Great opportunity to talk about ISO stuff if you guys want to. David says, do you think when companies say we're locally owned and operated, debt-free, no venture capital, or shareholders pulling the strings, we don't work for third parties, we don't have budgets? Oh, do I think that if they don't have any kind of venture capitalist, let me see if I understand what you're saying. Do you think when the company says we're locally owned, we're debt free, no venture capitalists, no shareholders, do I think that means, tell me if I'm wrong here, do I think that means that they don't have a budget? Not necessarily. It really depends on the company. I can just give you an example of places I've worked that whenever they were financially stable like that, like super stable, and they normally have been around the block for many decades, like 70 years and stuff, serving the community for 70 years. In my experience, companies I've worked for like that, they have no debt and no venture capitalists, those have been my best companies I've worked for. And the reason why I say that, it doesn't mean they don't have a budget, but it normally means they're smaller companies. I will say that. They're usually medium to small companies. But they've been my best companies I've worked for because they focus more on the people. That's just been my experience. When I first got out of the military, I worked for a giant company. I worked for Northrop Grumman, right? Multi-billion-dollar global security company, right? I was just a number there, to be honest with you. I was just a number. I felt like a number. I had a huge medical emergency in my family. I just bought a house. I was a military guy right out of the military. And I said, hey, guys, I was hired like 2 months, right? 2 months in, I had this medical emergency. My wife at the time had to go to the hospital. And I went to my boss and I said, hey, is there a way I can get some leave? Like we have a baby. My wife is in the hospital. I don't have nobody family here in Colorado. Is there some way you can help me to take some time off, right? And they said no. They said no. Now, mostly that was my boss being an asshole, but because he knew what he was doing. Like, he could have let me off himself and not said anything, and I'll just take leave without pay or whatever, right? If that's what has to happen. But ultimately, that's what I did. I just took leave without pay. But a vacation, that means they didn't pay me for those few days I was out. But we had to have her mom come in and take care of our kid and stuff. And I took like maybe 3 days off. But had they helped me, right, I've been way more loyal to the company. Now, contrast that to a smaller company I worked for, where they were locally owned, they were debt free, no venture capitalists. They've been around for a really long time. They eventually got bought out by a larger company, by the way, but they were a small like to medium company. They really took care of us. Like, if I would have said, hey, I'm having this issue, I need to take care of my kid, they would have been like, man, go take care of your family. This is a family owned business. Go take care of your family. Every company I work for that's like locally owned and they have this very local, right? It's normally they're people oriented. as opposed to the Lockheed Martins and the Northrop Grummons and the Raytheons. They don't give a they could care less about you as a human. You're not a human, you're a number. That's just my experience. I don't want to talk bad about, these giant companies. What do I know? I'm just one guy, right? So you probably have a totally different experience than me. That being said, go work for Northrop or Lockheed or whoever you want to work for. They're good companies, but they don't care about humans. But that's just my personal opinion, so don't sue me. Okay, and let me see, another question. Somebody said a lot of people use the same password for their accounts. Yeah, we were just talking about that. Don't use the same passwords for your account. Don't do it. Don't do it. And here's why. You use the same password for your account. Here's your account, right? Go to haveibeenpawned.com if you're coming here late. Haveibeenpawned.com. Type in your email, whatever email you want. If you have 3 emails, type them each one in there and see. So this site tells me where I'm using this site and where I'm using it, what companies, what websites I've used it at, which site has had a data breach. That means all their data got leaked. That means your username, your password, your profile, your real name. If you have a social security number, all that possibly got leaked to the internet, right? If you had the same username and password, just like SVT is saying, that means all of these have gotten leaked to the internet. And any account you have is using the same username and password, same email and password, they now have access to all your accounts. And God forbid you don't have multi-factor authentication, which a lot of people don't. I would probably say most people don't on most of these sites. They're going to be able to get to your Sheen account. They're going to be able to get into your River City Security spam list account, your Poshmark account, your Nitro account, your MySpace account, your MyHeritage account, your MyHeritage account. They'll be able to get and see your DNA. They could see your DNA. Oh man. Anyway, let me see here. I got some more people here saying stuff. From somebody said, "Glad I could help out. In your position, do you conduct many vulnerability scans? I'm looking into learn about using Nmap and Nessus." So the question is from Navi 2000. He says, do I currently do vulnerability scans? Because he's thinking about getting into Nessus and Nmap. I not in this current position. I have before. Every now and then we have to use Nmap. We do have to look at the results of Nessus. While I personally don't use these, I don't run these on a daily basis. I do have to know the results of an Nmap scan. And I need to know the results of a Nessus scan. I need to be able to interpret them for my organization, because I often use this is one of the main tools that some of our clients use, and you've got your other tools out there. You've got your Qualys, your Nessus, as a cybersecurity person, like especially doing assessments, you have to be very familiar with the results of those tools, because you have to interpret it, right? It's not enough to just click the button and run the scan. Like, you have to know what a specific Nmap scan does, and then what the dash uppercase S means, as opposed to a dash uppercase F means when you're running the Nessus scan. The results are the most important. What I'm seeing when the scan is done, what I'm looking at, I have to be able to interpret those scans, and so that is super important. So yeah, I don't personally use it, but it's very important to know those. The more you know about those tools, the better as a cybersecurity person, especially if you're in doing assessments. You had the more hands-on, the more you touch it, the more you see the results, the better. Like, there's really, that's not something that you can replace. Like, there was this debate a couple weeks ago about, I'm a cybersecurity guy, should I know programming? It depends. Like, cybersecurity is such a huge field, right? If you're looking at app security, of course you need to know a little bit of programming. But if you're like me, who's doing assessments on networks and stuff, not necessarily. I don't necessarily have to have that level of that skill set of programming. Do I have it? I have a little bit. I mean, I messed around with it, but if you were to show me Java code as opposed to C++, I probably am not going to be able to tell the difference, right? I'm not a coder, so I wouldn't, I mean, I could probably guess, but I'm not going to be able to yank that out of lineup, you know what I mean? But scanners, Nessus and Qualys and Nmap and all those, that I would say is a more valuable skill, to be honest, especially as an assessor, cybersecurity assessor. You got to know it. The more you know it, the better. So I would say, yeah, go dive into it. Know as much as you can. Jay Barnes says, I just started an OLM position that requires a CISSP. Any suggestions for studying? Yes. Yeah, and I wish I had the book. I don't have it with me. I have a couple of places that you can go. Let me dig those up for you real quick. If you guys didn't know, I'm on TikTok while I'm looking up some resources for CISSPs. And you guys who are chatting with me right now, I've got a bunch of CISSPs who are chatting with me. If you guys have any suggestions for Jay Barnes here about where to study for the CISSP, please help us out here. CISSP study. Let me show you here what we got. Some of my favorites have been the CISSP official book. It's just a good roadmap to getting it done. It's not cheap. It's not a cheap book. It's pretty expensive. The official ISC squared CISSP book is what I would recommend. So that's one. I'm bringing that up right now. Another one would be, there was a site I used years ago called CCC Cure. It used to be free, but now it's no longer free. It's got a bunch of like practice tests that you can use. And I'm trying to find how do you CCC Cure .com.org. cccure. I think it was .org. I can't remember. I'll find it. It was such a good site. Basically, people would put like their own test questions on there, and those test questions, it wouldn't be a compromise of the test. It'd be like similar to how the kinds of questions you might see on the test. It wasn't like a compromise. It was just like, and then you could choose how many questions to put on there, and it would give you like this ton of questions that you could go through. So these are just two things I would recommend. One's called, is this the site? Man, they've changed this so much. They have changed this so. Is this it? Hold on. Let me just see if this is it. I don't know that this one is. This is not how it looked at all. This is not how it looked. Oh, okay, hold on. Give me a second, because it had tons of certifications that you could use, and this is not. Is this it? Damn, they really changed this. Is this the one? Or is this is this a dump site? Yeah, I don't know if this is, I don't know. Okay, anyway, it's called cccure.education. They even changed it was called cccure.org. Wow. Anyway, you get the idea is to go to a site with a bunch of questions, right? This is probably one of the last things you want to do. First thing you want to do is you can go to this book right here. It's like $65. It's not cheap. It's not going to be cheap. But here's one of the official books, and this is just an official study guide. But this will do. This will walk you through all the domains, and it's for 2021 because this changes often. So you want to make sure it's the most recent one because the domains have changed since I've taken it probably 3 times. Yeah, covers all 2020 2021 updates for the exam objectives. Okay. Yep. Go through this book. Read it. What I did was I took notes on all the key principles of each chapter, and then I study my notes. That's what I do. For some reason, my study style is to write. That's another thing. You need to know your study style. Like, how do you learn fastest? Some people can sit in a lecture hall, not take a single note, just sit back, listen to the dude talk for 5 hours, and they just retain it because they're audio learners. If you're a visual learner, you got to do it visually. Like, you got to take a bunch of tests and get a visual understanding of what's going on. Like when they're breaking down firewalls, you need to see a visual representation of the firewall to break it down, stuff like that. And the more visuals you get, the better you'll retain the information. For me, I'm tactile and visual, so I have to write it down. So what I'll do is I'll go through each chapter, each domain, each chapter, and I'll break down all the key items in there. I won't go right at word for word everything that's in the book. I'll go to the keywords, the key pieces of each chapter, so I understand it, write it down, and then I'll study my notes. And that's what I did for like a year to study the CISSP. I passed the first time, but it took me like a year, and I was so scared that I actually took the Security Plus first. So that would be my recommendation. Let me see if anybody else has any other recommendations. Nope, nobody else has any recommendations. So Jay Barnes, good luck to you. Buy one of these books, study it, take your notes, study the notes, and then also when you're ready, when you're done, when you're ready to go to one of these sites. It doesn't matter which one. Go to one of these sites and then go through all the questions, the Q&A, right? Go through all the Q&A. Do not rely heavily on these because remember, these are just random questions people threw out there, right? It's just random questions. You got to understand the material to the point where you really got it. The Q&A is just kind of tough. It's like doing push-ups, right? It's like the difference between this right here is doing your full body workout. Like this is understanding it start to finish, running, getting your calisthenics in there, getting your aerobics in there. You're healthy, right? Once you're healthy, then you want to do some like push-ups, like get some push-ups in there. You know, these are like your reps, and get yourself ready for the types of questions that they're going to ask. Because the questions are hard. The questions on the CISSP, the problem with the questions, in my personal opinion, was that they have 4 answers. 2 of the answers will be kind of like, this is probably not the right one. There'll be 2 answers that are very similar. And it's almost, sometimes it feels like you got to choose the right one, like the one that's most correct. And that is what's really hard about that test for me. And there were comprehensive tests too. So it wasn't like, what color is the sky, right? It would be like, you have these 5 components that make up the atmosphere. Which component is missing and shit, stuff like that. You know, it's like comprehensive questions that you have to know what the sky is composed of, as opposed to what color is the sky kind of questions. All right. Anyway, I hope that helped. I hope it helped. But somebody asked me, what do you think about digital forensics career field? I would say a better question is, how much does digital forensics make? I'd be curious to know that. I would be curious to know, how much does digital forensics make? So I'm going to go to Google. I'm going to type in digital forensics. I think it's awesome. Actually, when I was in the military, I seriously thought about getting into digital forensics because I had a background in physical security, and a degree in criminal justice, and then I had some skills on computers. So I was like, damn, I was thinking about going into OSI, which is Air Force Office of Security Investigations. It's kind of like FBI, but in the Air Force. Office of, anyway. So it's like the FBI of the Air Force. And I was seriously thinking about, because I wanted to get into digital forensics, but it turns out they don't make, their range is a lot smaller than I thought it would be. That's interesting. Let's look at this. Look at this. I just typed into digital forensics salary. So this changes my opinion about digital forensics. I used to put it on this pedestal, but now I'm thinking to myself, this isn't that great. It's not as good as I thought it was going to be. Digital forensics. I wonder why. An analyst, maybe it's because it's an analyst. Let's see. I mean, that's not bad. It's just the pay scale is a little smaller than I thought, but I think it's cool. I knew some guys who did digital forensics, and they got to play with some really awesome tools. And I really respected the level of knowledge that they had to have, and the level of discipline that they had to have to analyze this information. The process that they had to analyze the information, I thought, was really incredible. I have a very high opinion about digital forensics, and it gets you on the door of things like the NSA, the FBI, very high profile security organizations who are not messing around. And then they're dealing with very serious issues. Like, you're talking about international terrorists. You're talking about child, you know what, which I can't say it because they're gonna ban me. Can't even say the word anyway. Murders, stuff like that. They're dealing with very heavy information. So I have a huge opinion about it. I think it's awesome. And at one point, I seriously thought about getting into digital forensics. But there's the salary. But I'm glad I didn't, because this salary cap is not giving me a vote of warm fuzzy. But maybe it's higher in DC. Let's see. I'm curious. Nope, it's not. Wow. Okay, well. All right, moving on. Okay, I got to get out of here real soon, guys, because I've got to go get a shot. But let me see if there's any other questions here. Are there cloud positions within the DoD sector? I just got my first IT position as a junior system analyst for a government contract company, and I'm trying to figure out where I want to go with my career. Are there any cloud positions for DoD sector? Are there any cloud positions for DoD sector? Let me show you something easy. Let me show you something. This should blow your mind right here. Everything is going to the freaking cloud. To answer your question, yes. What I just typed in was something called FedRAMP. FedRAMP is the federal government's answer to cloud computing. So it is a framework that is designed specifically for cloud services, cloud storage, cloud processing, cloud, all that, anything related to cloud. And what's happening is many different federal agencies and federal departments are putting their whole infrastructure in the cloud, from the computing part of it to storage to all of that. If you're going to put that stuff in the cloud, you got to make sure that you're using the right cloud service providers. So what the FedRAMP does is they make sure that your AWS, that's Amazon, or your Google Cloud Services, or your whatever, right, are approved and authorized. So they have a site where if you happen to be Dropbox and you want to provide this service to the government, they're making it a way for you to come here and be a partner with them. They tell you, look, you need regular encryption, you need to have this or that feature. So yeah, the answer is yes. There's tons of cloud. Everything's going to cloud technology. All of us are being pushed to this, whether we like it or not. At some point, every cybersecurity person who's listening to me now is going to have to know something about cloud, because everything is going to it, including federal systems going to cloud. It's just a cheaper way to manage your resources, where you're saving space. You don't have to. You don't have to have as much equipment on premises. You can have it. A lot of the services that you can manage elsewhere is managed elsewhere, and you can have more redundancy with the cloud-based technology and virtualization and stuff like that. So Yes, the answer is yes. Learn as much as you can. AWS is what I would recommend you learn. Google Cloud is another big one. And that's about it, guys. I have to go. I actually really wanted to do like a 2-hour session, and I'm getting all these great questions, but I have to go because I have an appointment. So maybe I'll do another one later or tomorrow or something. We'll see. But thanks, guys. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for all your great questions. Thank you for contributing. Thanks, Navi, for your great information. Jay Barnes, David, Gertens, everybody. Thank you so much, guys. I'm out of here. I will see you hopefully either tomorrow or next week. Just make sure you subscribe, like, and go check me out on Amazon. Go check out ConvoCourses. Go check me out on, not Amazon, on TikTok, and ask me questions there.